Hello fellow commanders and welcome to the first of many Steel Division 2 videos. Today we are going to have a look at many of the gameplay changes in Steel Division 2 to help you out if you're pre-ordered and are looking forward to playing the open beta to help test and balance the game. All footage is taken from the closed beta and is subject to change and updating as they change and balance the game before release. Firstly, of course, I've got to mention that we have Katyushas in the game now with an awesome 16x6 power HE shells and a range of 4,200 meters. But more on artillery later, which has been completely redone. Firstly though, I want to look at the new elements to the game before checking out some general points about the unit types. Of course, the armory is back and the deck builder has been completely reworked, opening up the ability to make a much wider variety of decks, including but not restricted to different options for income rates, choice of transport for infantry, choice of phase in which to bring in units, and at what veterancy level. So on the main screen where you can have a look at all of your units in your deck, there's a section up here where you can choose Balanced, Vanguard, Maverick or Juggernaut. Balanced is as it says, it's a balanced kind of deck. Vanguard is phase A heavy, Maverick phase B heavy, and Juggernaut phase C heavy. And if we have a look at one of our infantry units, we'll just have a look at the sapper is, then you can choose either to bring them in A, phase B or phase C, and the phase that you choose will have an effect on the number of units you can bring in for that card, less of those units if it's a phase A, and many more if it's in for phase C, for example. The same goes for experience. You can either have them with no experience, 1 experience or 2 experience, and again this will have an effect on the numbers you can bring in for that particular card. No experience you'll get more, and 2 experience you will get a lot less. And these phase A, B and C and the experience levels all play off one another to get to the final number of units you can bring in that particular phase. I have a separate video looking at the new armory and deck building system which I made a couple of weeks ago, and you should check that out for more details on the deck building system. I'll put a link for that in the description below. There is now a whole new conquest mode in the game. The map control mechanism has been completely reworked. The front line is still in the game, but now there are a number of control points. You will control any control points under the sphere of influence of your front line. You do not need to have a unit in the actual control point control zone. So to illustrate that point, we are the Reds with the Russians on this map. There's our front line, and within our area we've got the number of control points that we control. Got one on the left here in the building, you can see the red circle there, a couple in these buildings over here, one in the building there, one in the trees here, in the trees here, and a couple or 2 or 3 over on the right hand side here as well. The number of actual control points on the map will be dependent on things such as the number of players and the map size, etc. The number of control points in your possession will determine how much of your opponent's combativeness, pictured as a bar on the mini-map, will decrease. So on the mini-map on the top right here we've got 2 bars. We've got a red bar and we've got a grey bar. You can see the grey bar has started to diminish, and that's the German bar because we hold four more control points than the Germans at this stage in this particular game. And when that grey bar goes down to 0, then the game will end and the Reds will be the victors, and if the red bar goes to 0, the grey player will be declared the victor. And of course you have to fight over getting the most control points in the game. The game stops when the meter finishes. The number of captured zones is tallied then to determine the level of victory of the winning player. There is no time limit, but the moment you start controlling objectives you will be able to see a clock running down. The more control points you have over your opponent, the quicker the timer will go. What does this do to gameplay? Well, the addition of the control point objectives and the new way to calculate the level of victory at the end of the game is designed to avoid games being decided in phase A and much more likely to be decided in phase C. There is also a swanky new line of sight tool. Of course the line of sight was in the old game, but it's a lot clearer now after some fiddling around in the closed beta. and as you can see it works pretty well, and you can move it around and check out your line of sight and distances up to 2,000 meters as well. And also elevations should work a lot better in the game now as well. Before I talk about artillery, there's a few other things worth knowing about Steel Division 2 in general. The game has a much larger scale now. No more bocage country, but lots of open ground, large forests and lots of small towns. The ranges are a lot longer. For example, currently all tanks have a maximum range of 2,000 meters, and some of the artillery has infinite ranges. We'll talk about that very shortly. New, improved, or I think it's a new and improved interface. Very clear, it's pretty minimalistic, easy to read and understand at a glance. You can also now see what type of infantry, which is why I haven't unloaded these yet. You can see what type of infantry are in unloaded vehicles now. For example, in this one we've got the Avtomachki, forgive me for the pronunciation there, and here we've got our leader, the Komrotis. I'll unload them now after I said that. Okay. Harder for planes and artillery to stress tanks now than in the previous game. The games are generally longer, although you can of course change the game length by changing the rate of tick for capturing the capture zones when you set your lobby up. What else? Tanks, oh yes, tanks can now move through light forest. So for example, I put this tank in here just to illustrate the point. This tank, if I just start the game moving, you can see that it's actually moving through the forest. You can't move through the dense forest, but you can through the light forest, and there is some line of sight in the light forest, so be very careful. There's no infantry there with Panzerfaust or other anti-tank weapons that are going to take your tank out when you're starting to move tanks through forest. But this is a really nice addition and will open up yet more tactical possibilities in the game. Tanks can fire on the move now, but with greatly reduced accuracy. Armour thickness are now measured in millimeters rather than just given a value. More and varied types of critical damage, now dependent on weapon type, on the weapon type actually doing the damage. Air defense is actually a lot stronger now and more deadly than it was in Steel Division 44, and the tracers on the anti-air also look absolutely awesome. Check that out when they start to fire. And so finally in this video on what's new in Steel Division 2, we're going to have a look at the artillery, which has had a complete reworking. Self-propelled and howitzer type artillery now have an unlimited range. Yep, they can fire from anywhere to anywhere on any map. Currently, small caliber mortars have a range of 3,000 meters, larger caliber 6,000 meters, and the Katyusha MLRS has a range of 4,100 meters. Artillery observers are also required if you want pinpoint accuracy with your artillery. These are small groups of infantry and sometimes vehicles as well, which are able to spot for the artillery and increases the artillery's accuracy, aim time and rate of fire. And we're going to illustrate that here with this little setup we've got going on. So we've got two artillerists over here in buildings. They are infantry units in their own right, but they do exert, you can't see it, and you can see they've got a little radio mast above them. If you click on one of the, let's click on the SU self-propelled gun, you can see a circle of influence around the artillerists. And we've got actually an off-board over here. Let's place an off-board down. Why the hell not, real quick. Which also exerts that, is also an artillerist and exerts that circle of influence for the artillery pieces back here. And if we take our self-propelled gun and take it to the edge of one of these zones and do a fire position, you can see if we take it outside and say aim at this building over here, you can see the circle where the shells will land, but if we bring it inside, you can see that's much decreased, much tighter, and you're much more likely to snipe. Now, it's not always useful to have artillerists, because you might want to just be spamming a wide area with artillery shells, or you can maybe want to just snipe a unit whereby you can get an artillerist in position and snipe a unit in a building or an AT gun or something like that. So that's that. So that really is some quite significant changes for artillery. The artillery is also more powerful in this game, in my opinion, but they're also pretty damn thirsty on supply, so hopefully there won't be too much spamming, because you won't be able to keep them refilled with ammunition, and the aim time for vehicles such as the Katyusha, for artillery piece such as the Katyusha, is fairly long as well. So let's let this Katyusha fire away to finish off. There she blows. Very nice. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. If you got something out of this video, please do give me a thumbs up, subscribe. Lots more Steel Division 2 content coming up on the channel. If you can think of anything else to add to this video, then please do write it in the comments below. Help out any beginners you see on the game. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.